Watch today's video until the end, because there is information at the end that not everyone knows. And subscribe to the channel now to get such videos regularly. You could believe that there is nothing more to learn about Hollywood's golden icons after decades in the spotlight. However, even legendary actors like Robert Redford, who is renowned for his parts in timeless classics like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance. For years, both admirers and detractors have wondered about the hidden facets of Kid's life and career. Today at 87, Redford, the man behind the charisma, has finally opened up, revealing personal thoughts and secrets that were previously hidden from the world. In this video, we will delve deeply into these revelations and examine the hidden aspects of a real film industry. Robert Redford, Titan Charlie Robert Redford Jr. was born in Santa Cruz on August 18, 1936. Monica, California, in contrast to others, was the case with Redford, who experienced severe health issues, the most notable of which was polio at the age of 11. This period of his life is the most important one that he treasures because it was during this time that he developed his resilience and perspective. However, grief struck a second time when Redford, then 18 years old, lost his mother Martha Hart Redford, who died of a complication of sepsis. This was one of the most devastating blows in his life, and it profoundly altered him, showing itself in his career and emotional growth. Despite the early challenges that greatly diminished his creative and athletic side, he continued to show a strong zeal for both, which provided him with a haven from his personal issues. Initially, Redford went to Colorado University on a baseball scholarship, but he was forced out of the university and the scholarship got cancelled due to his over-drinking habit which followed him around eventually. However, he remained undeterred. The setback just made him explore the world, and so he ended up traveling to Europe. It was during this time that he was able to see the world through different eyes and even get more powerful to be an artist. Back in the US, his career as an actor gained momentum. He went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, and this school was what props up his career in acting. Redford's early theatrical experiences in the late 1950s were the key that unlocked his craft, making him one of the great actors on Broadway. A masterpiece, Barefoot in the Park, from Neil Simon's pen in the late 1960s, was the breakthrough for him. In it, he took the role of a newlywed husband named Paul Brd. This launched him as an upcoming actor in the theater world. Robert Redford's first big splash in the film industry was with his cult classic Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which was released in 1969. In this film, the Sundance Kid, Errol Flynn partnered with Newman portraying Butch Cassidy, who is played by Paul Newman. The relationship between Redford and Newman contributed a lot. Its uniqueness brought about by an irresistible chemistry that drew the audience, in their representation of the two charming, contemptible characters was praised by critics and helped Redford to become the superstar of the movie industry. The triumph of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in Redford's career is also a milestone in American cinema in the time that brought about some changes. Newman and Redford's strong chemistry in the film's plotline of suspense, witty dialogue, and overall adventure further the success of the iconic film. In addition, it also highlighted Redford's talent to link to viewers, which turn improved his reputation as a good actor who would consistently make money for the producers. This film's box office success was the stepping stone to future roles in Hollywood. From then on, he kept appearing in the major film genre of the 70s, including The Sting and All the President's Men. Each part added to his name and showed a different side of his artistry as he was able to demonstrate his versatility in acting. With The Sting, Redford had a chance to work again with Paul Newman, which was another boost that made both of their names on-screen heroes for years to come. This motion picture, set in the 1930s, centers on two professionals who can scam and con, and they perform a grand heist. Redford's interpretation of Johnny Hooker, an outgoing and money-spinning con artist, was acclaimed, and he was nominated for an Oscar as the best actor. The film garnered 7 Academy Awards, including the Best Picture, and it became second after Titanic in grossing the year. The movie intensified Redford's image as one of the biggest box office draws. The filming of The Sting was unintentionally delayed by Redford's arrival on the set of the movie. In making this show, Redford's talent is one of the things that makes him stand out from the crowd. In The Hollywood Reporter's recent episode of It Happened in Hollywood podcast, which celebrated the film's 50th anniversary, However, in the end the movie was a success, and the only thing Redford could not do was to be on time for shooting. In fact, he often was about 40 minutes late. Finally, when a more disciplined co-star named Newman in this case challenged him on professionalism, they got together and Redford was reminded of his shortcomings. The problem of Redford's work tardiness continued to become his secret enemy during the whole of his Working career, for example, on the set of the 1988 film The Emerald Beanfield. Redford, the director and producer of War, would arrive on set several hours late. Screenwriter David S. Ward related stories about crew members who would wait for Redford until the wee hours of the morning, and he would never inform them of the delay. This attitude of his permeated his interactions with other professionals, such as actor Cheech Marin, who had to wait days at Sundance before receiving an audition. Redford produced the movie in addition to playing Bob Woodward. As a result, Redford not only established himself as an actor but also as a producer with All the President's Men, playing the part of Bob Woodward, the real Washington. This was the most serious and determined heights of his acting career as a post-journalist who co-investigated the Watergate affair. The film received high accolades for its compelling narrative and truthful representation of history. It was rewarded with 4 Academy Awards, an indication of the vital role of the press in American democracy. But that's not all. Out of Africa 1985 was directed from the Karen Blixen autobiographical book ESO Dinnis, and it starred Meryl Streep and read. This film, directed by a famous filmmaker and starring a sweeping, romantic drama set in early 20th century Kenya. Colonial area won 7 Oscars, among them the Best Picture of the Year award. Actor Redford emulated not just adventurousness, optimism and deep thought in the character of Denise Finch Hatton, a big game hunter, but he also came out as a movie star through these films. He demonstrated his acting skills. His roles also had a great impact on the film industry and culture. At the time he won an Oscar for his role in this film, and Hollywood was finally starting to take him seriously. Robert Redford's influence on the film industry, particularly his prowess as a director, is not limited to playing the roles on screen. His initial directorial project, Ordinary People 1980, which won an Oscar for Best Picture and an Academy Award for Best Director, may be the most well-known of them. It explores in depth the complex relationships of family members coping with guilt and grief in a gentle and compassionate way. Redford's use of the emotional terrain of his characters was a defining characteristic of a director who was clearly well aware of how to handle a story that set a high standard for his subsequent directing projects. After the success of Common People, he also addressed many other aspects of the story. A River Runs Through It, 1992, was adapted from Norman M. to the silver screen, and Roberts was able to translate his profound understanding of human experiences into film. The film is set in early 20th century Montana countryside, where the teenage twins are raised under the strict supervision of their father, the town minister. It featured breathtaking visuals and an artistic analysis of brotherly love and their lives. The film was released and was a huge hit. Redford's next major project as director was The Quiz Show, 1994, which highlighted his passion for complex moral issues. It depicted the real-life quiz show scandals in the 1950s and examined how people's desire for fame and wealth resulted in a great deal of backstage corruption. Tremendous acclaim, and at the age of 87, Robert Redford was nominated for Best Director. In a recent interview, he candidly shared his thoughts on his experience with fame, the decisions he made throughout his career, and his personal life, demonstrating a profound sense of introspection. Redford explained that although there were many privileges of being famous, there still is a loss of privacy and identity. What's interesting here is Robert Redford, who is one of the most famous actors, never watches his own movies. In a 2015 interview with Today, he mentioned that he grew up in a tough neighborhood in Los Angeles where he and his friends would watch movies to make fun of them, and he couldn't get the image of himself as a part of the audience who was making fun of his own performance out of his mind. This unease of seeing himself on screen is the reason that he avoids watching his own work. Redford has also spoken about the dangers of celebrity culture. He conceptualized success in 3 stages: becoming an object to others, beginning to see oneself as an object, and if not careful, completely losing oneself to this objectified identity. He emphasized the importance of humility in a discussion with his grandson Walker, reflecting on his rise to fame with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Although Robert Redford's private life has been even more turbulent than his professional life, he described how the sudden recognition made him cautious about losing himself to fame and how he devised a personal strategy to manage his celebrity status without allowing it to distort his personality or perspective. Redford got married. Redford's life and profession were greatly impacted by his personal life, which was filled with both love and grief. He lost his first child, Lola Van Wagen, in 1958. Scott's sudden infant death syndrome. He suffered another loss in 2020 when his son James passed away from bile duct cancer at the age of 58. A representative for Redford, Cindy Berger, revealed that the family was going through a very difficult time and needed privacy during this time, according to Berger. However, this personal loss at a young age gave birth to a well-developed sense of resilience and a view of life that puts the personal before the professional. James's mortality started at an early age, but Jamie, an adoring son, husband, and father, lived on through his kids, his artwork, his movies, and his love of environmental conservation. Filmmaker James Redford had been battling liver-related health issues since he was a young child. In 1993, he was diagnosed with primary sclerosing cholangitis, a rare autoimmune liver disease. Following 2 liver transplants, he founded the James Redford Institute for Transplant Awareness with the goal of educating the public about organ and tissue donation. In 2005, he and his father founded the Redford Center, which supports AIDS filmmakers who create films about environmental issues. James is succeeded by his wife Kyle of 32 years and 2 children Dylan and Lena, who were the main pillars of support for him despite his celebrity status. Redford attempted to shield his children from limelight by enrolling them in a regular school and raising them away from the filmy environment. This choice mirrors his preference of making films about family life. Throughout his film career, he frequently mentioned the juggling needed to keep a happy family by the fact of his acting and directing responsibilities. In 1985 he divorced Van Wagen, and 6 years later he married his lifelong partner Sile Zaggers, and since then he has stepped back from the spotlight and remained focused on his family. According to Redford, his greatest wish was to become a good father and a trustworthy person to his children, but the death of his sons wasn't the only tragedy in Robert's life. He also lost his parents and his uncle, who he really idolized. This time was immensely hard on him. The loss of all these people can be felt in his films as well, which are often focused on themes of loss, recovery, and human existence. In 1981, Robert Redford established the Sundance Film Festival as part of the Sundance Institute, an organization that he had formed in order to provide an opportunity for independent filmmakers to display their work despite the commercial pressures that often come with mainstream cinema. Centered in Park City, Utah, Sundance soon became a core component of cinema. The festival was the product of Redford's dream of supporting artistic freedom in films. He himself had been a director with unconventional projects that were never supported by mainstream Hollywood. Thus Sundance became a way for him to support others like him. Currently Sundance has become the largest independent film festival in the United States of America, which plays a significant part in the global film industry by showing independent cinema to a wider audience. Sundance's impact on independent cinema is huge, having launched numerous filmmakers to international acclaim. Directors like Quentin Tarantino, whose career was catapulted by the festival after showcasing Residential Dogs, and Steven Soderbergh, whose debut feature Sex, Lies and Videotape won the Audience Award in 1989, are just a couple of examples. These successes show Sundance's role in discovering and supporting filmmakers whose works might otherwise go unnoticed in the traditional studio system. The festival is not just a champion of feature films but also of documentaries. It gives a platform to documentaries which explore complex problems, including. With the support of Sundance, Redford has undoubtedly contributed to modern cinema by highlighting the importance of artistic integrity and creative freedom. The diversity of the festival's voices and stories has given rise to a new generation of filmmakers who are no longer afraid to dream big and explore new narrative routes. These films, An Inconvenient Truth and The Cove, were not only successful at the festival but continued to be a global sensation. Robert Redford has received numerous accolades for being both an actor and an activist, particularly for environmental conservation, political causes, and Native American rights. As a result of his activism, public policy has significantly changed, and his work has raised awareness of certain issues. Throughout his life, Redford has been devoted to the cause of American Indians, emphasizing the need to preserve their culture and autonomy. He has been working to advance Native American arts and education through various projects, such as assisting in the establishment of the Native American Preparatory School in New Mexico, which was an initiative to improve Native American education. His environmental activism began in the 1970s. He became a voice for renewable energy and conservation using his public position. He was a strong supporter of the anti-nuclear power plants in California. Redford's political involvement is noteworthy as well, particularly his support of environmental legislation. He has been asked to speak before the U.S. Congress on multiple occasions regarding environmental protection and climate change. He used his power to start a campaign against the Keystone XL pipeline, arguing that it would have catastrophic ecological effects. His advocacy was crucial in the national awareness campaign that ultimately resulted in the project's termination through a documentary. His activism was important in the enactment of several important laws intended to protect endangered species and control industrial pollution. Speaking in public and interacting with decision-makers more actively, Robert Redford has effectively advocated for the rights of indigenous peoples and responsible governance through his platform. According to recent interviews, persistent efforts are not only about raising awareness but also play a significant role in changing public policy and behavior. Robert Redford has shared details about his activism, his illustrious Hollywood career, and the legacy he wishes to leave behind. These self-analyses give a peek into the inner thoughts of a man who has seen a lot of cultural and environmental changes in the last decades. Redford frequently admits that his career has always been a gift and a curse to him. He candidly said, "The feeling of being a star is very hard sometimes, but the opportunity to be a change maker is what is really the privilege." Redford also hoped to be respected because of his activism, rather than because of his work on the screen. "I hope to be known as someone that kept learning and teaching and not just acting," he said, highlighting the founding of Sundance and its influence on independent filmmaking. His passion for nurturing new talent and supporting innovative cinema has indeed marked a significant chapter in film history. In reflecting on his past, Redford also shared insights into accepting the roles that shaped his early career, stating, "Each role was a chapter in my life. Looking back, I wouldn't change the script." Finally, when discussing the notion of aging and mortality, Redford's path from a Hollywood star to an elderly voice in environmental and cultural advocacy is exemplified by his philosophical acceptance that age has brought me wisdom and the ability to relinquish control over things I cannot change. Thank you for watching. If you're prepared for another amazing discovery, be sure to watch the next video that appears on your screen. Robert Redford is still a significant figure in Hollywood and an environmental advocate, but he now prefers to live a quiet and low-key existence.